Oh, yeah. Hey, my name's Tom. You probably have seen me on Cannabis Legalization News, or you tried to Google how to get a dispensary license in Ohio, and you saw our website, cannabisindustrylawyer.com. But my company is headquartered in Illinois. It's called Collateral Base. The cannabis industry is difficult in the sense that you just can't say that you're a cannabis company. I mean, I had an accountant, actually, before I came to MJ Biz this year, declined to have me as a client because I asked him, just a question for accounting, like, there's a lot of buying and selling of licenses in limited market states. How do you classify that as an asset? Is that goodwill? Can we depreciate that? Or is that just capital? And then you have to kind of on a cap table, and it's just right there on your books, and you can't get it back until you sell it. That question got me kicked out of an accountancy. But
we are back with another episode of Media Unshackled here at MJ BizCon 2023. We have already done Nevada today. We are in episode number 2. It's going to be a long day, lots of states, lots of jurisdictions covered, and we're presenting you, our audience, a couple points of contact and some basic overview information in some different states about some people who are known, who know the state, who are doing either operational stuff or regulatory stuff. And I'm thrilled to be joined by one of our co-hosts. We have been able to do this whole production here at MJ BizCon because of our friends at Dispo, and one of my favorite friends at Dispo is Charlie. Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Dimitri?
Tell us a little bit about Dispo. What is it? Because I think our audience doesn't even know.
Well, Dispo is a custom packaging, branding, logistics company based out of Phoenix, Arizona.
And Charlie, you've been involved in the industry for a long time personally, right?
A little over 3.5 years.
Yeah, and you've been with Dispo that whole time?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I remember seeing you around the hallway and stuff somewhere.
Yeah, at Mita.
Yeah, excellent. Well, what do you think of our partnership so far?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you, and everyone out there who's watching this should appreciate you and work at Dispo as a company because you guys are concerned about giving back. When we first decided to do this little project about doing a state-by-state review, we said, let's find, the company that we know that's involved in packaging and cares a lot about the community. And maybe some of these other packaging companies do too as well. But we went to Dispo, and John Hartzell and Jeff, right off the bat, the two owners of Dispo immediately said, that's the kind of stuff that we wanted to do because that's who we are as a company, and that's a legacy. You know what I'm saying? That's very important. So thank you, our friends at Dispo, and let's learn about Illinois together. Why not?
Absolutely.
So
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so Tom, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Oh, yeah. Hey, my name's Tom. You probably have seen me on Cannabis Legalization News, or you tried to Google how to get a dispensary license in Ohio, and you saw our website, cannabisindustrylawyer.com. But my company is headquartered in Illinois. It's called Collateral Base. The cannabis industry is difficult in the sense that you just can't say that you're a cannabis company. I mean, I had an accountant, actually, before I came to MJ Biz this year, declined to have me as a client because I asked him, just a question for accounting, like, there's a lot of buying and selling of licenses in limited market states. How do you classify that as an asset? Is that goodwill? Can we depreciate that? Or is that just capital? And then you have to kind of on a cap table, and it's just right there on your books, and you can't get it back until you sell it. That question got me kicked out of an accountancy. But so we win licenses all over the country and got started in Illinois.
See, cannabis legal expert in Illinois and other states.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Tell us about yourself. Marketing director for Arise.
So I'm the media director for Arise.
The media director,
yep.
Okay.
So we are a cultivator. We started in Illinois. We're also in Arizona. And we're building a facility to launch in California in 24.
Okay, so technically you're an MSO.
Technically, we operate like a small company still. We're privately owned and pretty small team, but technically we
Shout
are.
out to Arise,
in
mom and pop
multi-states.
MSO. Make a distinction between your MSOs. There are Canadian publicly traded MSOs, and then there are privately held MSOs.
Yeah.
And then Arise does at least when I got into Illinois, Arise came out and they tried to have a differentiation by saying that they use aeroponics. I'm not sure if you still use aeroponics,
Yes.
but what's the methodology of the cultivation?
So yeah, aeroponics is kind of like the very foundation of our brand. Mm-hmm. And so we're not only one of the only aeroponic cultivators in Illinois and Arizona, but we're actually the largest aeroponic cannabis grow in the world.
Holy moly. Is that the one in Illinois?
Yeah.
How much canopy space do you manage?
I'm not a numbers guy. I don't want to tell you the wrong number.
A lot.
So you started with Arise started with one cultivation
Yes.
in Illinois.
Yes.
And then what year was that?
So that we purchased the facility. We purchased the license for the facility, And we started operations as Arise in 2016 when it was just medical.
And I want to tie that because I want to get into the history of Illinois and how it evolved medical to adult use. The basic, boring stuff. I know you're going to cover that.
No problem.
But just real quickly, tell us a little bit more about, or anything you also want about Arise, because we're going to focus mostly on Illinois as a group. But you guys are, what's your big plans? You got cultivation in Illinois. You got retail in Illinois.
We don't have retail in Illinois, so we have one retail location in Arizona.
In Arizona, okay.
And that's definitely something we may be looking at in the future is expanding into retail. But I think perfecting the aeroponic process and getting that working great both in Illinois and Arizona, and then now seeing can we build it from scratch,
right.
At that same quality level and output level in California is kind of what we're focused on
the
right
Arizona
now.
facility is fantastic. I've had the opportunity.
Have you been there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
Reese giving you
he
the
sure
old
has,
tour?
yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, glad to hear it.
Excellent. So, and there's so much. This cannabis industry is so diverse. Arise could one day be the greatest cultivator ever existed. It could be the greatest branded flower that ever existed.
Hey.
You guys could have independent brands named Wiggly Worms under Arise. You could have
We
retail
do have brands under the Arise family of brands now at this point. Yeah.
So what are those brands?
So obviously Arise is flagship, aeroponic, premium, full spectrum hash oil is kind of one of our. So that's like kind of the high end. And then we recently in both states launched Days Off, which is kind of our more budget-friendly brand, and it's blends. So blends were something that, like, personally, as a longtime stoner, I was a little skeptical about. And then we tried them, we tested them, we, did some market tests and stuff, and people fucking love them. And it's great because every time you have a different high. I've smoked Jack a million times, I've smoked Jenny a million times. What about Jack and Jenny together? What about Jack and Durban? You go on forever and you iterate. We've done about 200 blends across the two states already.
that's a lot.
So that's one of our major brands as well. And then we also do, just in Illinois at the moment, 93 Boys.
Oh, you guys are 93 Boys.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yes, so we do.
Didn't know
So
that.
that's we partnered with Chicago rapper Vic Mensa
Nice.
to do the first black-owned brand in Illinois. So our team.
Our producer, who happens to be black, is giving you a shout out.
Yes, he is.
Hey, we're trying to be part of it. We're trying to give back to the community, and obviously it's not what this is about, but black and brown communities deserve to be a much bigger part of the space and part of the industry.
That's right.
He always
So-
forgets. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean
I was giving you half a shout out, but I didn't want to say anything.
No. I mean, hey, you're right. But yeah, so that's super important to us, and that's kind of we do a lot for and with the community with the 93
Right.
Boys brand.
And do you use Dispo for your packaging?
We don't at the time, but
come
this is what we're here for. We're here to network,
Certain
so
things
we
you
can
do.
talk,
So there are certain things that we do for you.
What do you-
More like the generic side of stuff.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I have always been trying to get into the
All right, so
custom side.
Charlie, ask some tough questions.
Well, you can. We should just smoke together, and then I'll introduce you to the people who make those decisions, because that's not.
That's 100% fine with me.
It's a business conference, Tom.
It is a business conference.
I love you. You're a great guy, very friendly already. And I'm sure our audience wants to know much more about Arise. How do people learn about Arise? Is there a good Wikipedia page? What do you got?
I would go to arise.com. That's AERIZ.com, or check us out on Instagram at AriseUSA.
Awesome. So let's continue to talk about Arise. You know your way around the Illinois market, but let's dive deep into the origins of cannabis in Illinois. When did it go medical, and take us through the evolution?
Okay, back in 2013, the compassionate, because it's very often what a state does, it's a compassionate use act of the medical cannabis program. And so there was a compassionate use act for medical cannabis passed. And then it didn't actually get, I think it passed in like 14 as the election for governor was nearing. And we had a billionaire who was named Bruce Rauner fighting against the incumbent from Rod Blagojevich. And so like Blagojevich had been
Blagojevich got the
convicted.
hair?
Blagojevich has the hair and the convictions. So Blagojevich is out,
This is how people see
gets
us
convicted.
in Illinois. Sad.
Okay, but
Sad
then
but
Pat
true.
Quinn is now the governor, and he's on the way out because he's a lame duck tied to Rod Blagojevich. Billionaire Bruce Rauner comes in, who don't like cannabis, to save his life.
Right.
So he hired one guy
Yes.
to oversee the program, which really slowed everything down. And now costs of carry, they put everybody who actually won or applied into limbo for a while, and another lawsuit that happened, and so that was maybe 18
So there
months.
was an application process that was agreed upon, and licensing that was agreed upon, and they were like,
Yes,
process
and-
started and then it was frozen.
Yes, and so like that's 14. As the election's coming on, there's this licensing round that happens, and it was comprehensive because the size of the Arise facility in Illinois is ginormous in the sense that you can have 210,000 square feet of flowering canopy space plus extraction. The only thing you can't do is retail. So that was like the cleavage that they did for the 2 licenses for the medical, dispensary, everything else. No transport, no nothing like that. And they were only going to give out 22 of them. So the competition is fierce, the capital is high. And then the governor leaves because he lost. So he didn't want to like start giving it all to his political buddies. The guy who comes in gives it to all his political buddies. But he slow walks that because he doesn't like weed. And then he said 16, right? So 13, 16. By 16, it starts to begrudgingly move. I got my medical card in 17 because that's when they finally amended the statute to allow for a larger catch-all, PTSD. So this whole
PTSD,
program,
baby. Same here.
this whole program gave me PTSD hard.
Meet
And so-
Unshackled gave you PTSD?
No, the licensing
Waiting
that was
around.
going on, 2013, Bruce Rauner, yeah,
We
that
have
was
that impact on
PTSD.
people. Okay, so you got
Okay.
PTSD.
So I got
No,
PTSD.
you're going to trigger me over here.
All right.
I'm an
Smoke some weed.
Pretty much.
Please.
Pretty much. I know, right?
As an ex-prosecutor, I'm on your side. PTSD is an incredibly important qualifying condition for therapeutical health, medicinal cannabis. Awesome. So keep on going. So that was
Well,
good.
and so Rauner starts handing out the licenses to some of his buddies. Cresco's very well capitalized. GTI was very well capitalized. So they come out and they get like a huge lead. And then there's a company called Gold Leaf that sells to Atraxia, which is Verano. And Verano had a wonderful launch. They based it on a landrace strain from Iran that was beautifully done. And then the quality fell to shit. And then Arise kind of came on the scene shortly thereafter because if they built in 16, they were probably getting in 17. I apply for my medical cannabis card in 17, and I waited 3 or 4 months.
For your card?
There's one guy running the whole
Consulter,
damn.
baby.
Yeah, they're right.
There's
And
a long line, Dimitri.
there's a long line, one guy, and he's always on lunch, and so it just took. But then now there's a new administration, the Pritzker administration, then comes in, so we have a billionaire fighting against another billionaire, and I'm telling JB to legalize it because I'm in that camp, and so he's like yes, and he puts it on his platform like this is freaking balls, and then so he wins in late of 18, and so November 18 he wins. The bill to introduce the CRTA, the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, is introduced.
And that's adult use.
That's adult use now, and so he's going to win. He said that he's going to legalize it for adults, for recreational purposes. We need a lead on this, he says, and it's going to be social equity based. So that passes in May of 2019. Comprehensive statute, the provisions for the dispensaries, like most of the rulemaking that many other states, when you read their statute, they're short. So the statute that I was reading in Maryland was quite short because then they come out with the rules, and then the rulemaking administration has all
Executive
the power
rules,
to it.
yeah.
Right, and so Illinois kind of flipped the script on that. They put a crapload of the rules, especially for the dispensaries, right into the statute to fast track the dispensary round.
Yeah.
And so you knew what was coming in the application for the dispensaries. So they pass it in about Memorial Day of 19. It's great. One of the first state to legislatively pass it. And then they have a
But it's
licensing
still not
round.
a good idea to micromanage, though. It's unfortunate they put in so many rules.
Remember, our
I'm
governors
Ten
have a
Commandment guy,
history
you know?
of going
keep
to
it simple.
prison. This was his quote. And I'm going to curse. I got this thing and it's fucking golden and I'm not letting it go for fucking nothing. And that was our governor, again. And so,
He's honest.
and yeah, he was honestly convicted. But,
Honestly convicted.
hey, well, that's how it was. That's what happened. And so now you get into the fall because they put so much of the rules for the dispensary in there. And so now fall of 19, they have their dispensary applicationing process. Comprehensive, competitive application, and then here comes a lottery. And so they changed the rules while you were playing the game. Hilarious. And so suddenly it becomes obvious that there's going to be too many people that have applied. Everybody's going to get a perfect score, and then how do you apportion 75 licenses? So there was going to be now a lottery. And so that's when...
75 retail licenses, or are they vertical?
Retail. And so they're doing the dispensaries first. After the dispensary window closed in January of 20, then they went to the everything else. And so there's an infuser, and then there's a craft grower. The infuser license is basically worthless because you cannot extract and you cannot cultivate. And so the only thing you can really do is buy oil from Cresco and then make vapes or like gummies.
So basically, you're just white labeling for other companies.
Or you're trying to make your own brand. And then the craft grower can do everything the infuser can do. So like they can make their own vapes and their own chocolates and whatever, but they can also grow their own weed and extract it so they can make their own oils. That's like, I don't understand why and they also created another worthless license called the transporter license. And a whole bunch of people went for that one too. But COVID comes in, and so it elongated the applicationing window. And then, so now we're into late COVID, in the summer of 2020. And surprise, surprise, like 20 perfect winners are selected that are all politically connected.
A lot of white envelopes slid over those tables.
Oops. And so a super lawsuit ensues. And so that super lawsuit then takes us to 2022. And then that created the second round. And so I helped my clients win in the first round. Biggest mistake of my professional life. And so I should have gotten in on that because they won, And so then I won this past summer in the second round, but oops. And so that lawsuit eventually resulted in like 190 or something like that.
That sounds about right, yeah.
And so they dipped into the second rounds and the third rounds that they had contemplated because under the statute, it's a super limited market, not all that different from Arizona, but 500 dispensaries, they call them adult use dispensing organizations, can be issued by the department, and they don't count the 110 medical ones against that. So at the very full extent of Illinois, there would be 610 dispensaries, retail locations, which equates to approximately 1 per 20,000 Illinoisians. Great, because then each one's going to be making about $5-6 million a year. Not bad. And we're about halfway through that process. And so like right now, they had the big lawsuit, that got resolved. There's another big lawsuit for the craft growers pending. We represent several clients on that, and it's going well. That'll probably get resolved next summer, and then there'll be 150 craft grower licenses, which, because there's social equity everywhere, there's this divorce between being eligible for getting a license and winning it and having any money, which whenever I see all this, I always just, and they did the dispensaries first, I'm like, how much Cresco and GTI wrote this law? Seriously. You're just benefiting the guy who's already there, and you're making sure the guy who's trying to come up can't.
And you guys, feel free to jump in and ask him any questions. He's sort of like AI.
I was curious about the craft licenses, the
I
craft
have a lot of
growers
questions.
licenses.
Sure.
Is that like
he's like
is it,
ChatGPT.
limited to a certain canopy space? Or?
Yes.
Generating it. Yes.
I love him because he knows so much.
Oh, and I'm glad he's here.
That's
Yes.
I just
And I just go from state to state winning licenses, but
and you know the different regulatory structures, license structures, different states as well, which is great. I know when to shut up.
right. But the craft grow, 5,000 square feet of flowering
I'm from
canopy
Illinois
space.
too. We're all smart like this.
Just ask,
So that's
Chicago.
max.
No, that's min. And so like you can, and here's the loophole on it, because the people don't have any money, right? And so you just build your kitchen, and then you have your space for where up to 14,000 square foot of canopy can be, but you have to start with up to 5,000. So like one light, one plant, kitchen, buying oil from Cresco, making vapes, getting some cash flow going. Then you get the financing for all your equipment, and then you have 5,000 square feet. You sell that out for 2 quarters, they'll allow you to go up to 8,000. You sell that up for 2 quarters, you can go up to 11, go up to 14. You stop selling, they'll start taking your canopy space away.
Vultures.
We like a tightly controlled supply of cannabis unless you slap a hemp label on it, then they don't care.
That's a whole nother subject. So, the nuances. I love this about you because you're a lawyer. You understand these details, and details do matter, especially in the cannabis industry.
Right.
But we do have our shortage on time. If anybody wants to reach out to you to learn about, you are my point of contact. You know more about Illinois than anyone that I know. Are you taking clients?
CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. We have, yes, and so we still have a cluster of clients, and I'm going to fire a lot of them coming up by the end of the year.
Okay.
But and then we'll raise prices. But then we're trying to focus more on joint ventures, because when you go into win one of these states, like we create like right now in Maryland or in Missouri or in Illinois or in Ohio in the future, we'll create like 60 LLCs.
Yeah.
And then we like to calculate our odds, and we like to have our odds be better than 2/3.
Does Arise have a guy like this working for them in-house?
No, I think we need to. I think, once he fires these clients, we got to
Yeah.
talk.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
He might be too freedom-oriented, but you guys should have
No,
somebody like him.
I like the equity plays. And so, like, I'm going to have shelf space at the dispensary. I need some product to sell, and then they're going to want some shelf space. I'm like, all right, well, we get you some shelf space.
Yeah, no, and I'll say like these new equity-based licenses, the dispensary licenses that are coming online are actually great for us because, as you said, we're a mom and pop MSO, but we can't do reciprocity in Illinois because we don't have any retail locations, and so yes, they can only technically have I'm sure know the percentage of their own product in
40%.
There you go.
Yep.
But that's tough. For us to get our product into certain dispensaries. So what we found, every bud tender in the state loves our product and loves our brand, but some of them aren't, able to necessarily
control what gets onto the shelf.
Exactly. So we actually love these equity-based licenses that are coming on because we found that as a few of them have started to pop up, like they're super eager to work with us. They already know our products, love it. Certainly like 93 Boys and Days Off have been huge, especially in a lot of those new locations that are popping up. So yeah, it's exciting.
Well, we could go on. We have like short little segments, and the goal is to introduce people to our audience out there. You guys are incredibly friendly, incredibly intelligent. I hear that about Chicago, the Midwest, and you guys are just nice people.
Down to earth. Like, if they were more gregarious, they would have left.
Are you part of flyover country or not?
Oh, yeah.
Chicago?
Oh, dude, I live in a cornfield next to a soybean field.
But is Chicago considered flyover country?
No.
I don't consider
It's the
that.
third
I live in
Yeah.
the city.
Right.
I live.
It's the third coast, like the Great Lakes right there. And then Detroit tries to wedge its way into that, too. But it's Chicago, Detroit,
I don't want to shit
lakes.
on anybody else, but that's
How do people get in touch with you?
They can reach out to
Easiest
me.
way.
Easiest way, either DM the Arise Instagram or you can hit me up at ikrass@arise.com.
All right, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Awesome meeting
I
you.
love Arise. I want to know more about your brands and stuff. We'll do some independent shows on your brands. I like that idea.
I would love to do
We love supporting brands. Brands are wonderful. And people reach out to you how?
They can go to the internet and cannabisindustrylawyer.com or go to YouTube, Cannabis Legalization News.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to you. Your knowledge is incredible, so I really appreciate it. So, Charlie, closing thoughts. What do you think about this? And take us out.
Well, I thought it was very interesting. Thank you for sharing the knowledge of Illinois. It's obviously seems like a clusterfuck over there. So
Limited market.
I was thinking that the entire time. I'm like,
It's a fun cluster fun.
Just don't show this to the regulators.
Come
Let's
hang
do
out,
it.
we got smoke some fucking aeroponic weed with
Yeah.
me, bro.
Like,
I'll
come
just
on.
sit down.
It's all
Let's go to a
good,
Cubs game. Yeah.
something about, but say one day, and when this one day, humanity's gonna look back upon all these little interstate markets and all this nonsense in cannabis, and you know what they're gonna think? They're gonna think, oh, these marijuana guys were high when they created and made all these regulatory structures, but it really wasn't the people that were high. It was just inadvertent ignorance and belief in that they could control and manipulate supply chains and doing the best that they possibly could.
Hey, we're in
You know,
Vegas.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can't just go have a game of craps out back and try to start hustling people. They'll kill me. You know,
Yes, they
it's
will.
like you need a casino license to be able to do that. It's there's limited clubs, and so Illinois is definitely a state that says limited market, control supply, anti-diversion, unless you call it hemp.
Right.
And
That's crazy.
no, just to say and well, everything that you do and know fucking gives me a headache. To your point,
Give me a headache.
I think that all of us are like this. We're making history right now.
Yeah.
This is prohibition again. We are changing. Weed is a gift from God and alcohol is a tool of the devil, and we are part of the change of creating a better fucking healthier culture in America and in the fucking world.
Agreed.
I believe that
100%.
We can all agree on that. And so if you're going to Illinois, if you need to know anything about Illinois, reach out to these guys.